Hey, amazing humans. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Harmony, your podcast host. This is another episode of the Evolution of Your Higher Self series with Melissa Alves. Hey, Mel.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, darling. How are you?
I'm very good. Today, I'm excited to be talking to you about, with you, I should say, how to create more balance and success in your life by using your Ayurvedic archetype to guide your career path. And funny, because before we press record, I was just saying about, would I work in health? Like, I have worked in human health my whole working life, pretty much, like forever. I've studied multiple things, worked in it forever. And sometimes you get to the point you're like, wonder what else I would like to do. Like, maybe I should just work with animals. Maybe I should become a travel blogger. And then I'm thinking, but you know what? Who I am at my core, I feel like when I reflect on it, my purpose really is to work in health. And although those other careers sound really fun and amazing, and maybe in another life I'll definitely do those, I feel like it has been my calling, but I have had to work within health according to my Ayurvedic archetype to really know what path to take, because I have worked in positions within the health realm, as in like a shift work emergency nurse, which absolutely killed me because I'm a Vata constitution, and also my Pitta constitution, not having the, like the structure of routine. You can't do that when you're working all different shifts. Although I was driven to the work, love emergency, that high energy, like helping people in with their trauma and all the things that come in. It was just the shifts and the actual environment around that work, being in like a sterile hospital with fluoro lights and all the things, it just didn't go with my constitution, my Ayurvedic archetype. So it wasn't until I really worked with that I could find my place. But hey, I'm getting too far ahead of me. Before we get into this episode, Mel, what is your win for the week?
My win for the week was really redefining success again for me, because I've noticed myself over the last couple of weeks really been sucked into this narrative that's been put out there, especially in the coaching space, of what success is and what driving, which is the 6 figures, 7 figures, which is great, but that doesn't align with me. And I started putting a lot of pressure on myself and redefining, what does that success look like? And for me, it's how many people can I impact? Even if it's that one person, how can I create change in that one person's life? And the success is not building a multi-7-figure business. Success for me in this part of my journey is being able to be a present mum, to be able to work a handful of hours per week while creating impact. So I've had to really sit down and redefine it and cut out that noise, because it was starting to, I noticed, affect my mental health and then leading me to burnout, because I'm trying to do all the things to get to that, implement that roadmap to get to that six figures and then eventually 7 figures, when I went, you know what, that's fucking bullshit, because that does not align with me. It may align with others, but for me, while I have 3 young kids right now, this is how success looks like, and it feels so fucking great. So my biggest win is just calling BS on myself and rewriting it and redefining it for this season in my life. And it feels so good. And to have a roadmap now, which I'm going to execute, and that is my success. And that is, so that is my biggest win for this week, Harmony.
I feel like you're speaking to so many other women's souls out there right now. I think it's so important to keep redefining our version of success. And we have all been, caught up in that hustle culture. And I know that for myself, and I'm still in that at the moment, because I shouldn't say I don't have a choice, but as you know, like finishing off my master's degree and working in the business and everything. But my vision of success, I know, is not what I'm currently doing. And so I definitely, come the end of this year, I'm going to have a big sit down roadmap of redefining my vision of success, because I know what it is going to look like for me, but I just physically at the moment can't step into that right now, but I know what it's going to be, and I cannot wait for that. So I'm so happy that you've done that.
Oh, thank you. And it will tie beautifully in today's topic. But before we get into that, what was your biggest win for this week, Harmony?
My biggest win, it wasn't this week, but it has been brought up again because I recently dropped a podcast episode called Family Secrets and Lies. And I have had so many people message me about that. Thank you, everyone who listened and messaged me. But I have actually found some new family. And for those who want the whole story, please go back and listen to my podcast episode. But just very briefly, my mum was adopted. My father's parents were adopted. And so the family we have are very limited and unknown. Now, there has been a family friend of mine and my husband's. He actually works with my husband. And I've known him since I was a grad nurse, like new nurse, 2005. And it was the most bizarre thing because we don't look alike. There was no other way you could have connected this. But when I was in New Zealand on holiday not long ago, I found out he was my mother's cousin. So he's my second cousin. And it's just like so bizarre. And he's, crazy. So we've reconnected with family we didn't know we had. And so I think that's a win. I would say that's a huge win. It's always nice to have, especially being a friend already, like it's a bit weird, but it's also awesome because we're already friends. So that was cool.
You've built that beautiful foundation, so it's not awkward, like, we're related and trying to get to know each other. Like, you've got a friendship, there's that foundation like you spoke about. So to build on that on another layer, that's so beautiful. So yes to winning to new family members that you actually like. Not like,
I think it was even funny the other day, like we message each other now, we call each other cuz because they're like cousins. But my husband was doing the anesthetic for his wife the other day, and he messaged me, goes, "Hey cuz, what would your hubby like for as like a gift to say thank you type thing?" And it was it's just cool because it's like so surreal. It's weird. Yeah, that's my win.
Love that win. So what are we talking about today, Harmony?
The balance and success, how your Ayurvedic archetype can guide your career path. Now, I have also done an in-depth podcast episode on the Ayurvedic archetypes, entrepreneurial archetypes, I should say, and how you can recognize them within yourself. So you can go back and listen to that if you want more on in-depth on those specific ones. But today we're going to really talk about why it's important to know that, and how when you understand your archetype, you can really step into a career that you love, or even be really present in the job that you love, or the business, create the business of your dreams. But often we're in a place of far out, like, I hate this job, or, you're feeling really drained from work, or it's just not resonating with you. And it's because you might not be in the right position, or you've created your business in the wrong way according to your archetype. Because when you align things with your Ayurvedic archetype, it's all about cultivating this greater sense of self-awareness. And with that, knowing your archetype will put you in positions that you absolutely love and enjoy. And so every day you show up in this whole different demeanor of how you're meant to really be and really serve in the world. So I think it is so important to understand this. And this, as I mentioned, did I mention it in this episode already? Or have I said it before? But I can't remember. But I remember saying at some point in the last week that it really helped me change my direction in my career. No, I did. I was just talking about being in the emergency department. Oh my gosh, guys, it has been a long week. Okay, my Vata is going crazy right now.
So Harmony, because we, like you said, we have that that podcast episode they can go back and understand. But how, like, now that they understand, and if you don't, go back and listen. So now that we understand our Ayurveda archetype, how can that help with structuring our career or our business in a way that is going to help prevent burnout and overwhelm?
Yes. So, like I said, this episode, when I was talking about working as a nurse in the emergency department, although because my dosha, I'm a Vata Pitta, right? And so I was drawn to that sort of ever-changing, exciting work of being an emergency nurse, right? It really resonated with me. Love to not know what's coming through the door and really being in that action. that was also in my 20s when I could sort of keep up with the pace as well. But at the same time, being confined in an emergency department in fake fluorescent lights and, you know, being in that high stimulating, overstimulating environment for long periods of time, not getting breaks on time, so you're not eating at regular times of the day, all of that kind of stuff really started to impact on my individual constitution, my mind body constitution, and therefore led me down a path of disharmony within my mind and body, and ultimately led to complete burnout, hormonal disharmony, gut health issues, all of those things. And it wasn't until I was pregnant or, you know, trying to conceive, and we had like took us a little while to conceive the boys. And then we got twins. So we again tried a little hard. But no, you know, when we were trying to conceive, it took us a while. It was very, very stressful. And then being in that stressful work environment really set my Vata constitution and my dosha just next level out of balance. And I think that was a lot of the issue I had with trying to conceive. I just wasn't in a place of being able to conceive children. And so it wasn't until I moved out of that role and went into more of I was still in the emergency department, but I was in a different role. So I wasn't always at triage or doing the emergencies that came in. I was looking after the discharge planning of the elderly clients that would come in, and that was less shift work. So it was still 7 days a week that we could be rostered on, and mornings and evening shifts, but there was no night duty. So it was sort of like a step up from what I was currently doing. And so that kind of really made me realize, hey, hang a minute, like there's so much truth in this whole circadian rhythm thing, understanding how our body thrives. Because there was some nurses that would go to work on a night duty and just be like up all night, so good, loving it, like prefer the late shifts, and be like, oh, I could never get up in the morning and this and that. And I was just like, wow, like we really are so individual beings, and we've got to work out what's going to suit us. And I've always been attracted to work in the health industry, the health and wellness. It's all I've known, really. It's all I've ever been in: a personal training, yoga teacher, Pilates teacher, nurse, Ayurvedic practitioner, now traditional Chinese medicine practitioner as well. It's like I've always been drawn to it, but it doesn't mean every role has suited me. And I have been in so many different roles that have completely burnt me out. And it's not until I understood my individual archetype that it really helped me transition and understand the career that I needed to be in. So sometimes if you feel like you're in an industry that you feel passionate about, but you just don't feel right in the role that you're in, maybe it's got to do with your archetype. Okay. And so just briefly looking at these different archetypes, we've got the Kapha type of archetypes. And like I said, go back to that other podcast episode because it goes into them in depth. And it also helps you to establish what your secret sort of power is within your archetype. But when we look at Kapha archetypes, I've split them into two. We've got the founding nurturer and the grounded goddess. So these Kapha individuals, they thrive on stability. They're very beautiful, supportive people. They're a bit more slower in nature. So we would have some of these Kapha archetypes in the emergency department, and you would goddamn hope that you weren't partnered up to work with them. But the patients would love them because there's emergencies going on all around you, and they're the nurses that would go and be offering the patient in the next room a cup of tea and their meal and their family members, and talking to them about their life issues while you're yelling out, can we get a hand in here? This client's not breathing, you know? So they were beautiful. They're beautiful people. And you do need a few of them in the department to sort of stabilize everything. But they generally work better in roles where maybe they could be on a palliative care ward where they're looking after the dying, you know, and the social workers, the support workers. They're very grounding. So yes, you do need some of them in the department because they have to ground all the Vata Pittas in there, the high energy. But for them, they felt sort of underutilized, or they felt like they maybe didn't quite belong. They were always sort of, I don't know, they were the ones in the tea room who would be upset by what was going on around them and couldn't understand the pace of how we had to work, right? And so from a perspective of running your own business or your career, if you're more of that sort of grounded, nurturing goddess, or you're really good at like bringing people together and holding space, then maybe you need to be in a role that's a little bit more slower. Maybe one-to-one work is really beautiful. And you've also got to recognize the aspects of yourself in that archetype that can be detrimental to the work. So with being too grounded comes stagnation and complacency. So sometimes if you're working in a team environment, if you're too stagnant and too complacent in your role, it can actually hinder on the effectiveness of the company if everyone else is trying to move forward and like they keep getting held back by maybe your complacency and your stagnation. Even if you work one-to-one, you can sometimes become a little bit stagnant in your role, and you're just doing things for the sake of doing things as opposed to bringing a bit more passion and energy in life. And when you're in that sort of aspect of your archetype, you can start to feel very bored, very lethargic, very drained. So we really need to understand the parts of us that are our superpower and where to utilize them, and the parts of us that are detrimental to our position. So the Pitta archetype, before I move on to talking about the Pitta archetype, Mel, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I really love that understand. And I love the example that you said in the emergency ward, right? Because you can see that the Kaphas are very grounding. And I was watching New Amsterdam. I've been watching this show, and it reminds me of you. And I'm like, oh my God, how did Harmony thrive in that? And I can now see, like, if you have a very grounded Kapha in there, how when things need to be done in the emergency department because people's life are depending on it, how that can kind of not be the greatest use, but how you can still be in the same industry, but choose which area that is going to bring out your superpower that is really needed. Like, so go into the palliative care within the health industry, and that nurse, is needed there. So this is really crucial, even though you're talking about the healthcare, but really start, listeners that are on here, start going, okay, with my industry and my Ayurvedic archetype, where is my superpower best needed? And maybe you might need to do a pivot, because then if you do the pivot and say that Kapha goes from the ED ward into palliative care, you're going to thrive. You're going to feel fulfillment, that you're going to feel like at the end of the day, you contributed. Right. And then that's going to bring joy and like, oh my God, I've contributed. So yeah, I love that. So just listening, even though you're talking about the health and wellness, where can you bring that within your careers?
And I will say the grounded goddess or the founding nurturer, so the Kapha archetype in emergency department, they actually were really, really amazing in the management positions in the department.
Wow.
Because you need, when it's an emergency department, you need a grounded management team. You really do. And you've got so many people to manage and roster all different shifts. Someone that can, just be really not fazed by those things that are happening around them.
Yeah.
So they do have, everyone's got their position, and your archetype suits certain positions. It's really understanding that. So moving on to like the Pitta archetypes, like how can it prevent burnout if you understand your Pitta archetype, right? These are usually the born to shine leaders, or the innovators, like the innovators on fire, I call them. And they are very driven, they're very ambitious, they're naturally inclined to lead. So just going back to the emergency department, and I'm using that because it was such a huge team, like I can just pick these people out by a mile away. They would maybe be the resus coordinator, so the ones coordinating the resuscitation, right? They're the ones who in an emergency you go to, because they're very good at like giving direct instructions to be able to lead that. They're the entrepreneurs who are very visionary, but they have thought leadership, and they can implement all of their visions, and they're very strict with how they implement all of those. However, their intensity can lead to burnout if they don't manage that properly, because they can be so overdriven. And even think of like our athletes, like our top sort of track and field athletes, most of them are very Pitta, right? And you can be so driven that you forget about having fun, you forget about the world around you, and you can be so stuck in your way. So think of the high, like corporate office people that, are trying to climb the career ladder, but they're doing it at the detriment of their own health, and they end up resenting and hating their job, but all they know and all they're driven to do is keep climbing that career ladder. These are like the Pitta. So they can really incorporate sort of Ayurvedic practices to cool down their Pitta nature and incorporate some, like, I guess if they can let go of having to take control of everything, what would help a Pitta archetype is actually having staff that they can let go of some of the tasks, so they're not micromanaging everything. And that can be a really hard task for a Pitta person to do. So we want them to have their sharp intellect and their driven nature, but without burning out. So we need to understand that our strength can be our leadership, it can be our drive to accomplish things, to be goal orientated, to have that really sharp fire that burns within us, that high intellect and all of those wonderful qualities, the passion, like bringing our passion to life. But at the same time, that's exactly what will burn us out if we don't recognize the qualities of that archetype that can lead us down that burnout route, right? And then moving on to the Vata archetype, these are the ethereal dream weavers, the conscious connectors. The Vatas, they're visionaries, but they have too many visions. They get really bored with one thing. And that's why, like in the emergency department, for instance, you have a lot of mix of Vatas and Pittas. You have the Pitta leaders that love, to thrive off leading, say, a resource. And then you have the Vatas who are just loving all the different things that come in through the door. Whereas to other people that could be very, very stressful. So that can even stress out some of the Pittas, like it's just not structured. There's like so much things coming in the door. And Vatas can be really creative, innovative, but they do have a tendency to get really easily distracted. So I know for the Vata entrepreneurs in the health and wellness space, they have wonderful different ideas, but they want to do all the things. And then they never really focus down on one thing. And then they can get very distracted and lost in their own work, and often find it hard to be seen as like that authority figure in the health and wellness industry, because they're constantly changing their mind. They've always got that sort of shiny object syndrome that goes on. So if you know that about yourself, like how can you ground yourself in your position? So bringing in some more grounding exercises. Having an ideas board, great, but knowing that you're not going to get it all done in 1 year. So maybe focusing on one project and making that project fun and exciting enough and flexible enough, but also knowing where your tendencies lies to sort of like go off in all different directions. So yeah, how can you really harness your creativity without feeling scattered and anxious as well? Because Vata governs that central nervous system. So when they're all over the place, they can become very scattered and very anxious. So that's the type of burnout that they will get, scattered and anxious, whereas a Pitta will get very like burnout, irritable, like sort of angry, annoyed with their work. And a Kapha archetype will get maybe too complacent, too sort of lethargic, depressed, and unmotivated in their position. Anything to add to that, Mel?
No, I love it. I really love the archetypes and understanding what drives us and what are our strong points, but can also too much of that can lead to the detriment of the burnout, the anxiety, the lethargicness. It's been understanding my archetype has absolutely been a game changer, not only in life, but definitely in business. Like I've taken what I've learned on the doshas within Ayurveda Alchemist and really looked at it from a business lens and set up my business and helping my clients now set up their business, understanding their archetype and creating their offers and their days to really align so they don't get that burnout. Because I'm very much Pitta and Vata, where that Pitta, I'm the go, 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 and I get burnt out. And then Vata, I want to do this, and then I'm changing to this and changing to that. And Harmony's like, Mel, focus on the one thing. And I'm like, but I want to do it all, so knowing that about myself has just been a game changer to be able to, like you said, structure our business and just harness in on our strengths and just watch where we can get, burnt out or all the other things.
Yeah, and we absolutely see this within our students in the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy, Mel. So you do a lot of the mindset mastery calls and the goal setting calls. So what are some practical steps or strategies? Sorry, my dogs are just going off. What are some practical steps or strategies that entrepreneurs and professionals can implement to align their daily routines and business offers with their archetype?
Yeah, I think we'll go with the offers first, and then I'll go into setting up your day, so you don't lead to the burnout and the anxiety and the stagnation and stuff like that. So I think for offers, how I see it from an Ayurvedic lens and how I teach my clients is knowing what lights you up. So as a Kapha person, that nurturer, I want to go and nurture people. I want to be there to hug them. I want to hold space. They're really great space holders, right? So they can craft offers that are like in-person retreats, in-person circles, in-person, you know, workshops. That is where the Kapha is going to get so excited, because they can nurture, they can put on, they can host, they can make people feel good and create an experience. Like I had a client the other day, we're having a conversation where she did a VIP day with me, and we mapped out her offer and go, okay, great. She wanted to put it online, like have an online portal and, some live calls and things like that. But I could see that it didn't light her up. And then we had a conversation after our VIP day. She hadn't implemented it. And we had a conversation. She's like, I don't know, there's a pull in me wanting to hold space. And I should have picked it up as a coach saying, this offer is not going to light you up. The thought of the offer did, but how she delivered it didn't light her up. And I'm like, oh. So we then changed it and had an amazing conversation about how she can pull that online offer that would light up a Pitta into a space that lights up that Kapha, that she can pull out her Kapha and nurture so her clients can get the best transformation. Now, a Pitta person will think about that and go, oh my God, I have to hold space. I have to sit there and listen. Like, I just want to go. I want it structured. If I hold a space, if I hold a retreat, it's not so structured. It's very flowy. I have to nurture people. That Pitta will go, that's not for me. I want systems in place. I want it online. I want modules. I want to pre-record. I want to drip feed. I can control the environment. I know from A to B what the outcome is, and I can see the progress of it. I can tick all the checklists. So for a Pitta person, I want you to think about, does that light you up? When I said have an online program that lights you up, you have structured modules, everything structured, and you take your client through that. For me as a Pitta, that lights me up. Like, yes, but also I love the in-person events, but very structured in-person events where I can go up there and my Pitta fire can come out and just get it all out. That lights me up. But then a Vata, I look at a Vata and entrepreneur. How can you create an offer that is going to light you up? Like Harmony was saying, you've got so many ideas and you can't focus on something for too long. So maybe as a coach or as an entrepreneur, maybe you have offers that are very short, maybe a 1-week offer or a 3-week offer, and you just rotate it. Right? You have a whole bunch of little offers that you can rotate, and you could be the entrepreneur that has so many different types of offer. It's not in one large program, but you just have little offers that you're not feel like you're stuck in a box for 3 months teaching one thing. It's like short, sharp, 3 weeks, let's get it done, and I'm off to the next. You can create and design. I'm like, oh, that feels great, and throw it out there. If that works for you and you're able to create impact that way, then do it that way. So the biggest thing for me is understanding the archetypes and not putting yourself in a box. How is that person doing it? And having to put in that box and going, okay, that coach or that wellness professional is doing it this way. Like, no, what lights you up? What is your energetic blueprint that you can get your medicine out there the best and potent way from you? Right? So that's where understanding your archetype and what lights you up and what your strengths are of how you're going to deliver and how you're going to serve, and create your offers in that way, because there is no right or wrong. There is only right or wrong if it goes against your energetic makeup. If that is contracting you, that is a hell no. If it's not a hell yes and lights you up, then you're not doing it. I don't give a shit how other health and wellness professionals or healers are out there doing it. If it doesn't light you up, then it's a no. Create offers the way that it lights you up. And you got to think about it. Offers out there are created by people that was aligned with their energetic makeup. Why do we need to follow that structure? We are co-creators. Create an offer that lights you up. If it's a mix of online, if it's a mix of in-person, because we are all different doshas, right? And they all want to come out and play. So this is your big fat permission slip. I'm signing it right now and handing it over to you to get creative, tap into your Vata and create an offer that lights you up. And now when we're looking into, well, how do we map out our day? That's really going to support our archetype. How do we map out our day so we can create these offers and put it out there in the world? I really go back to understanding the circadian rhythm, right? And for a Pitta, you're going to get burnt out if you are go from when you drop off the kids to when you need to pick it up, and you're go, and you do not have a structure and really harnessing the energies of the circadian rhythm, you're going to get burnt out. If you're a Kapha and you do not have structure of when you need to show up, maybe calendar blocking is going to serve you. Right. So for a Pitta, I would do a 90-minute where I'm focused, where I can just let my Pitta, my fire come out. And I usually do that between the Pitta time. I think it's 11 to 2 o'clock. I'm going to harness that Pitta energy throughout the day. So the Kaphas and the Vatas is great. Harnessing that time, that Pitta time, block out 90 minutes, play some music and get the hard tasks of your day done. Get that really cognitive thinking task done in that 90 minutes and harness in on that Pitta. So it doesn't matter what your archetype is. Now, what is the energies throughout the day? Pitta's coming out to play 11 to 12. Let's get that done. Let's focus, right? Vata is in the afternoon. So that is where you can jump in on Canva and you can create beautiful, marketing stuff. That is where you can maybe, have team meetings and stuff like that, where you're not having to focus. But the most important thing is understanding to create breaks within your day. So a Pitta, after you need to making sure, especially Pittas, you're having breaks and go and do something cooling. If you've got a pool, jump in the pool. If you're by the lake or the ocean, jump in. If not, jump in for a cold shower, have something cooling, like a nice cooling shake, eat some cucumbers. You can do some nice cooling breath work just to break up your day. If you're a Kapha, you want to get that, you want to move, right? So play some fun fucking song, get Beyonce on and shake your ass, or Shakira, like get that body moving. You need to create circuit breakers within your day. And it can just be 10 or 15 minutes just to break it up. And a Vata, maybe you can put on some nice slow movements and do some movements or some nice slow yoga, lay up with your legs up on the wall, do some deep breathing just to calm and center your mind, to just get your mind from thinking everywhere and just come back into center. So the takeaway is creating an offer that is in line with your energetic makeup, which is your Ayurveda archetype. Number 2 is harnessing the circadian rhythm. If you don't know, I think go onto Harmony's website. She's got the circadian rhythm there, I think, or just Google it. Understanding the circadian rhythm and carving out your day that harnesses those energies. And 3, create circuit breakers within your day that really ground you or nourishes you or brings out that fire if you're a Kapha. I hope that made sense. I know I rattled on for so long, but yeah, those 3 key points.
Well, that was perfect. And I'm sure everyone listening will be like, oh, I'm this archetype. But there's within the 3 main archetypes, there's to each. So there's like 6 different archetypes. There's even more than that, because you can be a blend of, say, the Pitta and the Vata, or the Kapha and the Pitta. Like you can, there's lots of different archetypes you can be. But if you want to understand what that is for you, you can go and do a quiz, which I have online, to find out your Ayurvedic Entrepreneurial Archetype, and then listen to that podcast episode. And then Mel and I have a one-to-one program where we work with you and your specific archetype in helping you transform your business, your offers, depending on your individual constitution. So we look at the strategy, the mindset behind it, because the mindset behind each archetype is very different to be able to implement the strategy. The strategy for each archetype is going to be extremely different as well. So if that interests you, then please book a free call with us, and we'll pop the link in the show notes. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you got a lot out of this. Please share with your friends. And thank you once again for being here. Bye.
Thanks, guys.